Oh, there's like a whole story about that house that we won't get into on this
Oh
podcast.
my gosh.
We'll tell you guys
I mean,
later if you really
I
want.
believe it.
Yeah.
So the house that you have now is awesome. What was your initial vision of what you thought that you would get, and how does the house that you ended up getting measure up to it?
How do I politely ask these realtors if the house is haunted?
I think we talked about that.
All right, guys, welcome back to Millennium. Today we have past clients, Nate and Eliza, aka Ned and Eleanor.
If anybody, any of the OG Millennium super fans remember from one of our first few episodes, the inspiration behind the debunking the 20% down was featuring Ned and Eleanor. And here they are.
That's right. So we love having our past clients on just because, Jen and I, we love the sound of our own voice, of course, but we want to try to get actual perspectives. And every time we have people on, we learn something new. So, every time we have an interview like this, we uncover something, some kind of thought process or some kind of comment or whatever. And we have a lot of fun with it.
We get sucked into our own day to day a lot of times. And sometimes it's refreshing to hear from people who have actually gone through the processes that we talk about and to actually hear, their journey and then where they are now. When did you guys buy again? It wasn't, this was not all that long ago. The winter.
End of October, I think we settled. And then the 1st of November, we were officially in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that last year? I'm sorry. Was that last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quick. It was like, I think all in all, from our first conversation, it was like 2.5 months, maybe slightly longer. But
you guys go down as I think you guys might be my fastest from beginning to end clients, from conception to actual settlement table.
We like it
settlement table.
Yeah, pride ourselves on efficiency.
Bro, you sure were.
That's great. I mean, yeah. So we found you a great house. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what was the thing? What was the event? And almost all of our clients have this, the catalyst thing that said, "Hey, I'm done renting. I don't want to rent anymore. I want to buy a house, or at least start the process and explore the process of buying a house."
You want to start?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sort of the American dream. We always wanted to own our own home. We were just recently into a brand new lease when we kind of initially talked to the two of you, and we knew that our rent was going to go up by 40% if we stayed in the same apartment. It actually would be more than what our current mortgage rate is. So we obviously weren't going to stay there for another year. So we kind of just wanted to dip our toes in the water, see, how the process works, what the timeline is. We weren't necessarily in as much of a rush as it kind of ended up being, but we just kind of wanted to test the water and see, how does it work? Where do we look given our kind of geographic range between both of our works, and then kind of to stay close to kind of family. And then you want to add?
Yeah, I think the big thing for us is we wanted to get ahead of it because we knew we weren't going to stay in our apartment. Like Nate said, we got our apartment on a deal that was going to end, plus the annual inflation they added on. So we just talked about it earlier, and it really was just under 40% increase. So we knew we were not going to just throw that money into something that we wouldn't keep. So we wanted to get ahead of it, start talking to someone. We thought we would ride out the entire lease, but then we found this place. So
that was brought up a few times. I remember going through quite a few houses and saying well, we don't if it was a few months before our lease was over, we would probably make the offer, but we have some time. We want to see what's out there. And, for not being in that kind of thumb holding you down, pressure to have to get out, you guys still moved very effectively, and we're still really decisive with what you ended up wanting to get.
Right. That was definitely, it took a lot of stress out of it because obviously this is our first house. The fact that we did have time to look, especially with the market now, within our price range too, there was only X amount of houses available. Mm-hmm. So the time helped us there, even though we didn't need it. But yeah.
Quick question: weren't you changing jobs, Nate? Wasn't a professional thing going on
Yeah,
too?
so it was pretty new into switching kind of jobs and companies. I originally worked for a larger bank in Philadelphia, so I was on Market Street in Philly taking SEPTA in every day.
I'm so
And then I
sorry.
moved. Yeah, right. Me too. But I transitioned to a smaller community bank up in Bucks County. So kind of wanted to stay in that like 309, 422 nexus between the two highways, and yeah, I mean this fit the parameters, price range, as well as geographic. So really couldn't beat it.
Cool. Yeah, and I remember our first call, and the one thing that I will say is that we had to dig through your lease, and we
Yeah,
don't encourage people to break their lease, but I think it was on page 56 we found a clause
Yeah.
that
That,
basically said like, "Hey, we're just kidding, no problem. You can just get out with like
yeah,
60 days notice," but it was
yeah.
buried in there.
yeah. No, it was
Yeah.
actually pretty funny because when we like officially moved out and got everything like wrapped up, we actually got like our security deposit back. So we basically didn't even break the lease in terms of having to pay them like an extra month. It was
Yeah.
basically net zero. So
Yeah,
And-
because
when I
it was it was within the bounds of the lease.
yeah. And when I was talking to our like the leasing office or whatever, the guy, he's like, "Oh, why are you guys moving out?" I was like, "We actually just bought a house." He's like, "No way, I've been looking for so long. Like my realtor just messaged me about looking at a place. I don't know if I'm going to go." I was like, "You should go. Like you never know." We looked at a few places too and they weren't right. So I ended up convincing him to go look at this house, which he then bought.
Yeah.
Really?
Nice.
You got that one?
Yeah.
Listen, if you ever want a career move, there's always real estate.
No, I will say you guys are one of the reasons that we zeroed in on you in the beginning of our podcast episodes is because you did what we like people to do, which is to just explore the option. And, sometimes it's not all the time, but sometimes people fall into it and they're like, oh, wait, I'm more ready than I thought. They have these mental barriers, like I need to get a new job, or I have a lease in place, or we just moved, or we did this. But in this market, you guys did the right thing, which is to just get into the game earlier, because in 2 years, I mean, we'd still be looking at the in the middle of next year was your lease would have ended.
So our lease would have ended next month.
Yeah.
So
okay,
kind of probably have started the process back in May.
Okay,
maybe a little bit sooner, given sort of like normal parameters.
Right.
But yeah, we just wanted to be on top of it. I know sometimes it takes people longer to kind of find the right house. Sometimes people are a little bit pickier than we are,
but not even that we weren't picky, because we definitely were in certain regards. But I think what helped us go into it so fast would have been the two of you. Honestly, you explained things so well.
You're just tunneling right to Jen's heart. You're tunneling right to.
No, you guys seriously explained things so well, because again, when we were talking earlier about what you guys might ask us and stuff, when we initially brought up to our family looking into buying a house, we talked about it before we even got our second apartment. And all of our family said, well, do you have 20% down? You need at least half. Well,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that's why we went ultimately into that other apartment, because we were like, shit, no, we don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
Who has that kind of money?
Most
I asked
people
my
don't.
mom. Yeah, I asked my mom. I was like, did you have that kind of money?
Well,
But even still, the 20% for them is so much different.
I was
than
going
what
to say
our
probably
20%
the
is.
20% of a much lower number.
Right. So just going through even the first call we had with you guys, we sat down and we're like, I think we can do this.
Yeah, it was really refreshing to have kind of a sort of like a guide, and at least a very like brief sketch of how it works from step A to Z, and then again kind of debunking a lot of those myths that you guys talk about on your show a lot.
Yeah, and we also, I think we gave you the buyer questionnaire, our buyer questionnaire.
Yep.
Which has turned out to be very illuminating for couples to sit down, because I always tell people you got to fill that out together. Like none of this
Yes.
shit where you like you fill it out at work and say, hey, look at this, look right. Like you two both have to sit, like our clients need to sit down and do that together, because that uncovers and that the words on that page kind of force those conversations and those compromises, you know, whether it's what you're looking for or the price point or whatever. And you're allowed to do that in the privacy of your own home instead of like airing it out to a lender and a realtor.
Yeah.
Right.
And like
right.
have the disagreements that you didn't know that you had together privately to then be able to discuss
Yeah.
and communicate. And you guys actually,
you know, but oh, sorry, but no, but all jokes aside, like that is actually just a much more efficient way to do it. You know, instead of, you know, we get on a call and there's like weird pauses and like, you know, there's uncomfortable like moments. You will then, once you fill out that questionnaire, you come to every meeting now with not all the answers, but a lot more clarity, so that you can focus on like what our lenders are telling you, or you guys can focus on the house because you've already had those conversations. And that's what that questionnaire really brings out.
Yeah.
I am amazed that more agents don't use them, but I don't think a lot of agents use like buyer and seller questionnaires at all.
I mean, at the
They
end of
like
the
to
day,
go
like
by
we were able to like, at least I know I did. I was able to go back to that if like I was going through your portal and like, or if we got back from a showing and it kind of missed the mark, like I go back to them and see like, all right, let me get a refresher then also. Like I use that to just make sure that like I'm staying on the same page so that we are just seeing things that you do like and, you know, not wasting your time having to go out. So, I mean, I think that all worked well as a team.
Yeah.
I have a question then. So then, all right, this is all like happy dory, rainbows and sunshine, great experience. But what was the most confusing or challenging part of the process, or as being a first-time home buyer?
I think for me, it was kind of that intermediary period. Once we kind of hit the, you know, we agreed to the sale with the sellers, and then we had to let the lender and sort of the lending office kind of do their magic with the mortgage and all that sort of stuff. It was like, what was it, like 2.5 weeks where, you know, it was just kind of like silence. Again, not that anybody wasn't doing anything, but there was a lot of back office stuff on their end. And me, I don't really like to wait around. I don't have patience. I didn't
That's putting it nicely.
Yeah. So
well, I will say during a transaction, after going under contract, when you don't hear from people much, it's actually a very good thing. That means there aren't problems and things are moving the way that they should.
Yeah.
So.
Right. I think that just took us aback though, because we did go so quick through everything. Like we were in contact probably every other day.
Yeah.
Like, we were talking a lot, and then it was just kind of like silence. And we're like, did we mess up? Like, are we okay? Are we still getting the house?
it really is ours, right?
Yeah.
I mean, being on
there is a little bit of like a hurry up and wait. Sorry, but there is like a little bit of a hurry up and wait. You know, where it's like it's all like, hey, did we get the offer? We got that. You got the house, great, okay. And then there's a very long time, relatively to like the actual home buying. Like then it's just everyone's in the back end ordering things and doing things, checking boxes, sending docs, that type of thing. So that's perfectly normal.
And then what was your most memorable moment during the entire like home searching or what have you?
Most memorable in terms of maybe a little bit comedic was when we saw that one like old farmhouse with you, Jen, and Jackson. And it was the one with like the cesspool as the sort of the septic tank. And as soon as we went inside, the seller was actually there, and she came like running out because there was like 4 of us to come look at the property. And she's like, this house isn't for a family. Like,
that one, the one that was on
she basically told us just go, and we
were like, wow, that's a great selling tactic. But yeah, that was the one that was on the market for like 100 days or something.
Yeah,
at that point.
This was the full string house.
Oh my God, it was Manitoba.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that one.
Yeah.
There's like a whole story about that house that we won't get into on this.
Oh my gosh!
We'll tell you guys later if you really want.
It,
yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I think my
You're right.
memory-
That was very memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my memory would be, again, probably not a good memory, but one of the houses we didn't get was the first one we saw with you, Jen, in Pottstown. And beforehand, I was joking with my entire family saying, how do I politely ask these realtors if the house is haunted?
I think we talked about that because I think we talked about
yes.
disclosing and how like they don't
Yes.
have to disclose any paranormal activity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like all freaked out about it. And when we split up from you and Jackson to go look around the house, I went into the attic. There was a pentagram drawn on the ceiling.
What?
And I was like,
And you didn't
no.
tell me?
No, because I just wanted to
Great
get out.
content. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
get out.
Oh my gosh. Wait, was this the one, like the very first house we went to see together in
Yes.
Pottstown?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. And I'm like obsessed with the big doors. Like, look how cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a pentagram on the ceiling in the attic. Oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
did not know that.
But then obviously good memory would be, I think as soon as we walked into this house, we were just kind of like, we first asked Seth, we were like, what's wrong with it? Because we couldn't find anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
And then I think we just kind of stepped outside and we're like, I think we're going to put an offer on
Yeah.
this one.
Which
Yeah,
is funny
and
because
I-
that was
and,
the one closest
I remember
to my house
Sean.
too.
Yeah.
Sean was very helpful because he had contractor experience. So perfect example of you guys is why we like the parents coming, because
Yeah.
he was really helpful to be able to and make you guys feel comfortable. And I think you guys have lived there pretty problem free. And
Yeah. I mean, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Again.
but like he was able to ask he was asking great questions, and I was there, and I have like a lot of construction background, so like I think
Right.
like I was able to make him comfortable, which then probably allowed you to be comfortable.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I think that's I do. There was a meme up on the internet. I actually shared it yesterday, and it was something about like how realtors love to joke about how parents are like kill deals, and they do that. It's like in the background, man, parents are always are more times than not cheerleaders of kids buying houses, and like realtors have no idea, but they're like the ones who like got them looking in the first place, or they're the ones when they're putting in that offer, they're giving words of encouragement. I think that I think parents get a bad rap in real estate, to be honest with you. So I was appreciative of Sean when he was there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was definitely, I think, reassuring for us to have our family there, but then again to show them that we weren't dealing with sketchy people.
Yeah,
they trusted us.
Oh, you know us, super sketchy.
Yeah.
I enjoy them every time they came, especially at the Manatawny house where the woman told us get out. But yeah. Okay, so the house that you have now is awesome. What was your initial vision of what you thought that you would get, and how does the house that you ended up getting measure up to it or compare to it?
Ooh.
I was thinking, just kind of given the market and where we were looking, we were probably going to be a little bit more like suburban or on like a busier area in like the Montgomery County area. But I mean, we're kind of like near a busy area, but we're kind of on like a back road, as you know. So it is kind of very like
I pass your street every day.
You just stop by.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is very like quiet for the most part, and has kind of like a rural feel to it, even though we're not, in the middle of the woods. So
now tell us, what does make it feel so rural?
Well, it could possibly be the donkeys across the street.
I would like to set the scene for everybody that like where they live. So, every town has a high street. And it is what most people would expect. It's a through street of the township, very heavily trafficked. They live a little bit back off, not too far off of it, but it's like, it's not the middle of nowhere. And Seth and I are standing, we had settlement at their new house, and Seth and I get there first, and we're standing there, and I hadn't seen the house yet. This was my first time seeing it because you had gone to see it with Seth for the initial showing. So settlement was the first day I was seeing it. And Seth and I are just talking casually in the living room, and I am just like looking out the window past his head because of who I am as a person, and I can't pay attention. And I saw donkeys just walking around in the grass off of High Street. Like, if I also lived across from 3 donkeys, I would position my desk and my furniture and everything I could to just look at them on a gloomy day. So I don't blame you one bit. So I found that as, it's like you got your little bit of country in the midst of being able to be commutable to everywhere.
Right. And one of the selling features that we joke about is it came with a chicken coop, and we grew up in rural Ole Valley. So that was like right at home. And now I have 6 little chickens out back.
I was going to say, you got some chickens, right?
Yep.
I mean, you're not having to buy $5 eggs anymore.
Nope.
That's awesome. I do need to come over and see them. I have not gotten a chance to pop by since you guys have been doing everything. How has the go ahead.
Real quick. We have actually one of our goals this year is to get back out and come see houses and get in back in touch with everybody from the last few years. So you guys certainly are on that list.
I have no excuse. I live like less than 5 minutes from at least 3 or 4 of the people.
It's Jen's fault.
It's my fault.
Yeah.
The quick question: somebody who is you 2 years ago or a year ago, what's like the best piece of advice you would give to them if they were renting or they're at home or whatever? Like, what is the best nugget that you would have for them?
Mine would probably be just keep an open mind. I know a lot of the news that we hear these days about the real estate market likes to make it sound like it's impossible to get out there and kind of get your, the house that you want or your housing goals. And I'll admit it probably takes a little bit more work now than it did 5 or 10 years ago. But that's where, being proactive, being efficient, and kind of jumping into the game a little bit sooner than you might think you need, just to kind of, find out what you need and what's expected of you through the whole process, is kind of good. So just kind of be proactive, keep an open mind about where, so long as it kind of fits into your daily life.
Nate, I just want to tell you right now, you failed that question because you didn't tell the audience just to hire Jenn and I.
Don't worry, they kind of did earlier, but no, I was going to say, I think a big takeaway to take from like what you guys have said is to reach out before people think that they are ready, because I mean, like, you're a living example of the fact that, you were like, we have a year, like, we're not in a rush. We really just want to like hear things out and kind of like learn a couple things and like, just kind of like pick your brain kind of conversation. And you didn't think that you were ready. You didn't know that you were going to be able to do that when you did. And you took all the steps that you needed to do. And then you were able to buy when you found the one that you wanted, not even knowing that you were even going to. So I hope more people take from this that to reach out before they think they're ready.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think even though we did get this transaction done rather quickly, it was a lot easier and calmer of a process than if you would kind of do it within 2.5 months, but you're under the gun. That's going to be a lot more stressful and a lot more hectic than if you go in and just be proactive, be efficient, keep an open mind, and obviously hire Seth and Jenn.
There you go. I got it.
There you go. There's the plug. No, where do you what's Nate and Eliza doing in 5-10 years? Right? What's your guys planning? You guys having any discussions about long term, or are you guys still trying to catch your breath after the home purchase?
No, I think we're pretty. Well, we want life to slow down a little, but I think 5 to 10 years.
That works.
Yeah. I think this definitely will be the house that we start our family in. So I think, just generally speaking, that's kind of where we're thinking. So, like I said, we've moved once every year for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So
it feels so good not doing that anymore.
We're
get that.
ready to stay.
Yeah. We're happy to not have to rent a U-Haul for a while.
Yeah. So how is life post homeowner? How is it being a homeowner? Has anything Has anything happened? Have you done things to your house? Are there any fun revelations that you've found in home maintenance, repairs, or decor?
I know I've taken on most of
Yes.
the renovation
Yes,
of.
Eliza's the handyman of the two of us.
Oh, yes,
Nice.
I love a strong woman.
Yeah, so I think I've officially painted every single room. So we're now at a fresh start. Nate and I have discovered that the previous owners or previous owners before, they didn't move things to paint. So it was those classic memes of when you move something and you see the previous colors. So there was a lot of repairing of that. And actually, as I say previous owners, funny story of that. The other day I was out doing like yard work and I saw someone driving by and like staring at the house. So I was like, oh, they must be lost. Not that I can give them directions.
Aww.
So I walked up. They used to live in the house. Their parents actually put the addition on the side. So I got to find out like a fun little history of the whole home. They grew up in it and moved out in like 1976 or something.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
that is the easiest way to murder me, because I'd be like, oh my God, come in and see the house.
Yeah, no, see, I knew to draw the line there, but I walked right up to the car and I was like, hi, how can I help you? And he almost killed me.
Yeah, I have been that
Gotta go
creepy
back to 101.
person. I've done drive-bys of the house I used to live in Downingtown, and I've like just sat at the stop sign and like stared at it and creepily driven like past really slowly. And I actually wrote them. Yeah, I wrote them a letter before and did say like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, I am a realtor. I'm not trying to like tell you to sell your house right away. Like, if you're ever going to, I'd love to, but if you ever see a creepy black Jeep that's like driving by and like staring, like, don't worry, nobody's like coming for you or your family. It's just me. But that's really funny. And to the point with the paint, it's funny because I have clients right now where I'm selling their house, and they were doing a fresh coat of paint before we listed it. And same thing, their friends were helping them paint. They didn't take off mounts. They didn't move stuff around. And he's like, I just found all of this. And I was like, just keep the paint and then just do it before you move out. Like, all your stuff's going to be out before the new people move in anyways. Like, oh.
Yeah, see, that would have been fine if they left us the paint, because I wanted to keep everything. I was like, oh, I'll just keep it the same color. Like, that way I don't have to do it. Nope, there was so much I had to paint.
Your arms are probably so strong from sanding so much paint down. Well, listen, at least nothing major is broken yet. Knock on wood for you.
It will. You don't have to knock on wood. It's going to. That's just one of the joys of homeownership.
Hopefully in another year.
Yeah. Yeah. But
and when you need somebody or something, you know where to find us.
And that is right. And we have a whole group of contractors. So like that's we've had a lot of conversations about that where you need anybody. You just, obviously you don't need a painter. Or
I might though.
Sounds like Eliza's done the landscaping too, which is great.
I did a few electrical jobs.
You have.
There we go.
That's good. Yep. That's important. That's one thing I won't mess with.
Nothing like a Saturday Home Depot and a YouTube video can't solve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bruce.
Yeah, Jen's like, yeah. Maybe I
good thing we live close to a hospital, because if it was me, there would be like an emergency room visit added at the end of that too if I was doing any electrical. But
no, but she's probably thinking like, yeah, maybe I could have done that one Saturday with my storm door on the front of my house. Maybe that.
It's getting fixed tomorrow.
It's getting fixed tomorrow, but it was supposed to be fixed Monday. Now it's getting fixed tomorrow. But 7 years we've been waiting for this door to be fixed, so it'll be quite a day. No, it's funny you guys talk about the house you grew up in. In fact, I'm going to be posting something. And I won't go into the story here, but when I got licensed, I think, Jen, you sent that letter because I told you to do it. I sent a letter to the house that I grew up in for 17 years. And it was a very kind of long, circuitous path. But eventually the person who owned the house called me and said they had my note. And I was able to take my mom back there and everything like that. So it's like it's cool. It's cool to hear those stories where, 1971, like that's old school though. That's 50 years ago.
I did something similar. I was selling a house in Royersford for one of my first roommate ever, is one of my close friends. and her wife, and they were showing me this card that they had gotten with a picture of the original owner of the house from 1920. Sitting in front of the was now boarded up fireplace in the house, and it had a note from the granddaughter saying that, like, you know, she like drives by every now and then, and like, you know, they hope that she's enjoying the house. Yeah. And I'm like, when did you get this? And they said, like, oh, like 2 years ago. I said, I hope you reached back out to this woman, because she left her email. And she's like, no, I actually didn't. I said, are you nuts? So I said, do you mind if I do? I emailed that woman. I said, hey, you sent a letter to these homeowners 2 years ago. I want to invite you to see the house before we sell it. So she came, she told me all about what it was like back in like the 50s, and that her grandfather was like the first owner, and they like grew up in that house, and what it was like and what they did. And it was so cool. Got to tell you about the addition and like tell you history. It just makes you feel like more kind of connected to it and be able to see where it came from. I'm sure it didn't have the solar panels on it when they had it.
No.
But I was like, that does make sense as to why the addition needs new insulation if it was put on how long ago?
3 years ago. Yeah. How are those solar panels working?
So far, so good. I think, what was it, last month was the first month we didn't have an electric bill because of sort of all the sun we've gotten. So we have a pretty hefty Pico credit. So
that's crazy.
Like, couple of months. Yeah.
I mean, I hear, you know, like, oh, you can get like energy savings, and you know, I'm always skeptical about just how much.
Don't bank on it in the winter, because in the winter we have this house is fully electric, so like we definitely had an electric bill in the winter.
I mean, hey, at least it's just in the winter though, because I'll tell you what, like the electric like costs are also like, there's a lot of people saying that like they're even like doubling in cost lately. So shoot, the solar panels. I mean, if you didn't have an electric bill last month,
you're gonna get a lot of sun all the way through summer, because I guess that's because of the sun angle. So the solar panels in the winter don't pull as much, because it's first of all, sun's up a little less time, but also the angle probably doesn't hit that.
Right.
We upgraded our propane stove as well, so that offset the cost a little bit too. So
cool,
awesome.
All right. Well, any other final thoughts, Jen?
No, I think it's been great to have Nate and Eliza, that I almost called Ned and Eleanor. We have so permanently changed your names, like in my brain.
Okay, I think my mom has called us that before. Honestly.
Really?
Nice.
That was one of mine and Seth's first podcast memories. Was that, because it was the first name that got spit out. I just looked at him like, that's the most millennial name you could think of. No, I mean, I think it's great. I think that you guys are really good, because we have clients on like all ends of, everybody has a different journey in their home buying or selling experience. And it's like, we've got people who have been searching for like well over a year. We have people who have searched for 2 months. But at the end of the day, I think everybody can always say and agree that the house they ended up getting was the right one for them, regardless of what had happened during the entire journey. So that's my closing thought.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. You know, we'll probably be putting this out pretty soon, but have a great summer, and you know where to find us.
All right. Next time. Bye.
Bye.